How many of you have actually read through an entire business plan from the very beginning to the very end? How many? Okay, terrific. So I've already got, now you have an assignment that there's no time limit and there's no grading. I suggest that if you're interested in business and starting your own business, go online and type in business plans. And you will find lots of business plans online. And I suggest that you just set aside a half an hour, 45 minutes, turn everything off, and just go through it. The first time you go through, there'll be a lot of terminology that you might not recognize, and part of being in the business world or any field of expertise is knowing what the vocabulary is. And so I really suggest that you find it. And after you've read a lot of them, you start seeing a lot of commonalities, and you see what are the important things to consider. So you may not need a business plan to start your company. Many people just have a slideshow, 10, 12 slides, whatever it is, pitch deck, but I think that there's a lot of pluses for doing business planning. And I can tell you when most of my clients come to me when they need a business plan, you know when they come. Why are you coming now? Because I need money. Okay, when do you want the business plan? Tomorrow? Yesterday I said I charge more for yesterday because then I have to go fast at the speed of light. It's very expensive and all that stuff. But in any case, don't wait at the last minute to start it like we did. I did. Okay, that's dumb. Turned out okay, but you should at least start reading and looking at it. So what do you think are the sections of the business plan?
Executive summary.
Executive summary is one. What else?
Marketing strategy.
Marketing strategy is definitely in there.
Competitive analysis.
Competitive analysis, which is in the part of marketing and sales, right? How about human resources?
Team.
Do humans matter? Does the team matter? Sure it does. And again, for time, I'm not going to go into the details. This is killing me, by the way, because when I first started teaching about entrepreneurship, I said, how am I ever going to fill 28 classes? And then after a while, I was like, how am I fitting everything in here at all? So I would love to go into more detail with you and come take some of my classes. But anyway, for a business plan, I want to give you the highest level of abstraction. Somebody says, what's your business about? I'd like you to say, we have 3 goals for the company, A, B, and C. For each of those goals, we have 3 strategies to achieve that goal. And if you're really interested in the nitty-gritty, for each one of our strategies, we have 3 tactics we have to find. I've now turned you into a total business talk because I told you absolutely nothing. It's very organized, right? So we have 3 goals of the company. I've got 3 strategies to achieve that goal and 3 tactics to support that strategy. It's a general thing. It could be 4, it could be 2, but people seem to be able to keep 3 things in their head at a time unless it's a spring planning. So, okay. Goal strategies and tactics, I do that with all of my consulting. I start out by having all of the people who are in the management team, senior management, give me their 3 goals for the company, strategies to support those goals. And if they're really good work results, get the tactics out of them. Okay? So you want to show that you know how to run the organization and where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, you're not sure if you're getting there. So we talked about the sections. Why would you want to start a business?
You want to solve a problem you don't see being solved elsewhere.
Okay, so from something that you see a need for something that you don't feel is adequately addressed. That's one. What else?
Profit.
Profit, make money. Okay, what else?
Flexibility and lifestyle.
Flexibility and lifestyle. That's absolutely true, but it has a trade-off. You're flexible at one level, but then you're always on at the other level.
But
Because
it's
your
something you're
company,
passionate
but it's
about,
something you're
so
passionate
you're-
about. So there is a trade-off. And if you're running a place and you decide that we're closing from 11:45 to 1 o'clock for a meeting, then you can do that if it's your business.
Yesterday there was a good quote. You're available to work any 24 hours in the day.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or as they said at Disney, if you don't come in Saturday, don't bother coming in Sunday. So that was a while ago. I was got a good laugh at that. Okay.
Yeah.
So personal satisfaction, financial rewards, expressing oneself. Sometimes people feel like they're expressing something that they feel is important. Helping others within and outside the company. You had said try on filling an existing or generated need or desire. Okay? Remember, the most important in the end, the most important people you work with are your customers. If you have no customers, you have no business ultimately, right? And for those customers have 2 reasons that they buy something. One is because they need it, and another is because they want it. They can certainly do both, need it and want it. One of my favorites is food. You need it, especially mine. It's Tiffany, right?
Yeah.
Especially Tiffany needs food. She's 15 hours, she's starting to get a little droopy there. But now she's all regenerated, right? So you need food, but that you also might desire a certain food more than another, and so you might be willing to pay for that. We have free lunch today, my favorite price. Anyway, yes. Okay, so I have examples. Not going to go through all those. There are. Okay.
It was so nice meeting you. And
Listen, I'm always available. You say every
Okay.
time. I've got office hours. I'm happy to talk to all of you. And as I'll say to all of you guys, I should have said that up front. I'm absolutely happy to meet with you as individuals. Just talk about your thing or in groups. I'm going to have office hours Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I'm also available for other things.
Okay,
So
great.
don't be afraid
Nice
to
meeting
reach
you.
out.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. So, some of the pros are responsibility. If it's your own company, you are responsible, but it feels good, usually. It's constructive and positive. It's very easy to complain, and the world does need critics. I believe in that. But I also think it's a lot easier to be a critic than to build something. Building something successful is really hard. Why do you think most businesses fail? The majority of businesses after 2 or 3 years have gone out of business. Why do you think that is? I mean, you could say because it's too hard. How about something more specific?
They don't solve real problems.
Okay. They think there's a problem, but they're not really solving it. That could be one. Sure. What else?
A lot of time.
I was to say they just didn't execute it well.
They didn't execute well. It's absolutely one of the reasons. It was a good business idea, but they did a lousy job. Sometimes people do that, right? Or companies do that. We've all had experience with that, right? So I want to give you another one to think about. One of the reasons it's so hard to have a business go well is that there are many moving parts, and not all of them are under the business's control. Many of them are not. Okay? So if you were doing a tour company and there's some hurricane somewhere, there goes that tour, okay? Or if you had a company whose manufacturing was in New Orleans, like someone I knew, and they only had one source for their materials, which was New Orleans, and there was a hurricane and a flood, and the whole thing was gone, that'll ruin your whole day right there, right? That's something about sole sourcing too. But there are great positive things that come out of a successful business. But how about some of the cons? Most of them fail many, many hours. And here's another reason why it's so complicated. Fuzzy decision making. When you make decisions in business, when educators and people who are allocating resources like the provost office have to decide, should they put resources into this or that? Should they build this major or that major? Should they have a strategic alliance or a joint venture, or should they do nothing? Should they do a licensing deal with Penn researchers? How does that all work? There's no single right answer to those questions, and you don't get to do it over. I hate when that happens. So you say, okay, well, we're going to do it this way. And then you go, oh, geez, we should have done it the other way. Sorry. Right? So you don't get to do it over. And what's the right answer for should you rent a space or should you lease a space? We looked at this space and they had a nice view, but that one, is next to the train tracks, but it's much cheaper, blah, blah, blah. So here you are trying to make all these decisions and there's no clear right answer. So I think that's one of the reasons that businesses have trouble, and a lot of times the people who are running the business don't have the experience in having run it before, and so they don't think about the time it takes to do those kinds of things or how to get out of it. Okay, so it's very tough on relationships. I can tell you that from personal experience. I already told you projects take 3 times longer and 3 times more money than you usually think. So you have a lot of resources here, but before I get into resources and the network, let me stop there. I would love to just go on until 8 o'clock at night and do it. Let me get your questions in, because that's very important to me.
Well, Lawrence, maybe you can talk a little bit about some challenges that you face, in your company. I know you mentioned a little bit about some of the dumb things you did, but
Yes, definitely.
but from a standpoint of growing in a market that was new at the time, how did you basically say, this market's so new that we're not 100% sure if it's the right market, but how did you make the decision that we should go into it?
Okay, so again, I'm going to try to keep these short, but I think this is worth thinking about, and also it's fun because I'll tell you that in a minute. But, so when we first started out, there were 5 of us, and the 3 business guys actually turned out not to be felons or weasels. They were actually real business guys, which I was lucky about that. And so what we did for them is they would go out and find a customer that had a very antiquated computer-based system. It might be for a personal or a business security, like an ADT, where they monitor events and then they call out the police if there's a break-in, that kind of thing. Or it might be heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. building systems that needed to be computer controlled, but the computer system was very old and it was out of date, and they were having trouble supporting it or getting it to be larger. And so we would come in, we'd typically get from $200,000 to $500,000 to do a project. It would take us 6 months typically to do the project, 9 months. And I can also say that one nice thing about having your own business is that if the customer is somewhere else and somebody has to travel, the business pays for you to travel and fly around, so that was very good. I got to do a lot of that. And basically after we blow through the $200,000 or $500,000, and the next thing I knew, we're back where we started, because this was just a one-off contract, another one-off contract. And after 2 years, we said to ourselves, you know what, and this is important, and this is something that I hope you can all take away. There's a point where you have to say to yourself, this isn't working. I wanted it to work this way, I thought it was going to work that way, but life is showing me it's not going to get us where we wanted to go. So we had an idea. We were in an industry that we understood pretty well, the heating, ventilating, and air conditioning, and fire and security in commercial and industrial buildings. So we decided that instead of having to do each one custom, that we would build a system ourselves from scratch, hardware and software, the entire system, and we would set that system up in such a way that we could just have them like loaves of bread coming off of the assembly line, coming out of the oven, except that instead of loaves of bread for $2, we were selling electronics panels for $2,000. And that was our vision. And also to be the best in the industry, change the industry. So our industry was based on a single mini computer with all kinds of sensors and actuators running out through a building, very expensive to install. And also, if the computer goes down, there's only one computer, the building just went, that's bad. When the building goes, the tenants get very mad because it's 90 degrees or it's 20 degrees in their office, and they go out and complain to the landlord. That's not a good thing. Okay, so we decided that we would create a system that could be used in any building because it was programmable, and so we could do mass production, but still have it be able to be customizable by a knowledgeable end user for a contract. That turned out to be right. Okay, it was 3.5 years and $7 million, right? But all of a sudden, it started to work, and our systems were costing 1/3 of a Honeywell, Johnson. These are companies that you may have heard of: Barber Coleman, United Technology Systems. So they would bid a job for $3 million, and we would come in and bid it at $1 million. And at first, they just thought we were lying or weasels, whatever. But after about a year, and these systems were starting to work, and they were working in real places like Heathrow Airport, the Alaska Pipeline, Ford Motor. We had some very nice installations because of the network of salespeople that we knew and installers. So life got very good when the first company came to us and said, I know we've been bad-mouthing you guys, saying that you're from Pittsburgh and that you're ugly and you're going bankrupt and all that stuff. But would it be okay with you if we could do an OEM, which means that we would take your stuff, which is better, but we put our name on it because our name is better, and we're embarrassed. We don't want to say that we're from Pittsburgh and we got. So we said, after you said we were going bankrupt, we were ugly, we're from Pittsburgh, and now you want us to sell our stuff to you and you put your name on it, sign immediately. We're ready to go. See, I got you there, right? You thought I was like, heck yes. You know why? Because we had 5 full-time salespeople for the earth. They're very dedicated salespeople. There's only 5 of them. These guys had hundreds of people in every city in the U.S. to throw a dart. There was a Honeywell, Johnson, and so we were like, this is awesome. And also, people in the industry knew, hey, that looks like American Automatrix stuff in there. It's like, no, that's the United Technologies 2700 with the label taken off where we had our name was there. So we sold to United Technologies, Barber Coleman, and Lawrence had the opportunity to go to Tokyo and actually sell NTT. We got selected to work with Mitsui Trading Company in Japan. It took us 24 months. They started with like 12 companies. And at the end, it came down to Lawrence having to eat live shrimp in order to get the contract, which I did. So I'll save you that story too. But in any case, at that point, we knew we had done it. And it was only a matter of a few more years and we sold the company privately. So it was an incredible journey for me, and we recognized when the business was making a major mistake that we had made. We figured out how to rectify it, and we were late, and it did take us 3.5 years to $7 million. But what we created was we changed an entire industry. So instead of a single computer, we'd run into all these things all over the building. We had microprocessor panels in different zones, and each one of them ran independently. So if you lost a link between them, you didn't lose any of the rooms or any of the buildings. The whole place could run with just those individual microprocessor panels, but they all could be networked to a host system in addition to running independently. And because we built the hardware and software from scratch, that had two benefits. One is it was as cheap as heck, because if we didn't need it, we didn't put it in there. It was just for this application. We weren't doing any word processing or video game and stuff. This was just to do the job. And so that was number one. The other reason that, look, it was great to design all this stuff is nobody could copy it. They tried. They scraped traces on the circuit board and put logic analyzers, tried to figure out what our software did, and so we were way ahead of them. We knew they were going to do that because we would have done it. So we said, okay, we'll stop this from being hackable, right? And we had control of the chips and everything. So that was a beautiful thing. So nobody could break in there and copy it. And I was very glad about that. So in any case, on a personal level, the company went from 5 people over the 10-year period I'm talking about till we sold it to about between 80 and 100, depending on where you were. And we saved energy. Our building's control system saved energy. That was a wonderful thing. I'm very proud of that. And we ended up taking our computer protocol that we had designed, and we started a committee. And it took us 10 years to get it accepted as a national standard. And so I know all of you just can't wait to go look at the standard for how you talk to HVAC control system computers. But if you do, you'll see BACnet, that's what we created along with the committee. But it was basically our protocol with a bunch of other people's names on it, dragging them because they didn't want to do it, because it was making it impossible for all the users to do their own work, which Honeywell did not want, I assure you. After 10 years, we got it approved as a US standard. It was an international standard in 1 year. So I feel great about that. And let me stop there. You need to have a team of people. That's one of the most important things. And I'll talk to you about that privately, but you need to start meeting people. People here at this, you should all be meeting each other. Networking is everything. Networking is civilization. It makes me laugh when people will say, oh, I don't want to be cheesy and just network and stuff like that. It's like, if you don't network with anybody, there's no civilization. That's what civilization is based on. So I don't mean you should go look at people as objects and say, what can I squeeze out of that thing? It's like you should just be yourself and have a good time. And if you're not a social person, that's okay too. But somebody on your team should be. It's a really important function to be able to go up to people and just talk to them. I'm not shy. I've been doing this for a long time. I'll talk to anybody. If they're interested, though, you have to read the cues. If they're starting to, I work with students who are doing this, with the phone, and they're like, I'm starting to cry. Listen, I've been known to do that in certain situations. Anyway, so let me stop there. There's more questions. Oh, we still have some time. That's great. So yeah, let's do some more questions, and I can go off and talk about the trillion stuff.
Yeah, like in the tech business area. I mean, it changes every day. So how far ahead do you have to think when you're making a business plan? Like, how far ahead do you think?
Well, most business plans used to be for 5 years, the projections would be, and that's shortened to about 3 years now. And I won't go through a list of why. I happen to be of the opinion that 5 years really is important, because all the fun is after people lose money for 2 years usually, so you only have the fun for 1 year in your plan. And if it actually does work, those 4 and 5 years are hugely crucial. And I've had that experience of watching how the growth mattered. But 3 years is about as far as people can say, as like you're saying, so a product might come out tomorrow and obsolete your product, right? In 3 years, you could destroy the taxis in the United States and the world. I mean, that's pretty amazing, right? They came from nothing, okay? But they found a really big hole, and they took on something that people just didn't want to take on, right? Yeah, Paul.
What's your view on Nest since you're like a bit in that industry?
Well, I think it's great that they got what they got for it. It's frustrating for me because it's something that is so elementary in comparison. I mean, we were doing all of that stuff a long time ago, but I think it's great. I think it's great to have marketing, and it's great to have the actual smart controllers. In a lot of commercial, in a lot of like residential applications, it really doesn't matter. It's not that much energy or information, but for a commercial and industrial building, it means a lot. You start getting to a lot of energy and stuff like that. Yeah.
This is more of a